It was supposed to be a normal night at the bar. Laughter, music, and the clink of glasses filled the room when two identical sisters, Maya and Alana, walked in. But within minutes, the mood shifted. A group of off-duty cops leaned forward, eyes locked on them. One officer smirked, blocking their path. "You don't belong here." The crowd went silent. Tension rose as the twins stood calm, refusing to back down. Everyone thought they were just two women about to be bullied. But in seconds, the truth would flip the entire room upside down. Maya and Alana Carter weren't just sisters. They were twins, two halves of the same soul, raised in the same house, shaped by the same struggles, and bonded by something unshakable. To the world, they looked like ordinary young women enjoying a night out. But to anyone paying close attention, there was something different about the way they carried themselves. They walked with calm confidence, their posture straight, their eyes sharp, as though they were always scanning the room. That night, after a grueling week of work, they decided to stop at a small town bar. It wasn't their usual spot, but it was the only place open late. The neon sign buzzed above the door, half of the letters burned out, and the smell of beer and smoke hung in the air. Inside, locals sat crowded around sticky tables, their voices carrying over the music from an old jukebox. For a moment, the twins thought they could just blend in, order a drink, and finally relax. But it didn't take long before the whispers began. Heads turned. Eyes narrowed. To some in the room, the twins weren't just strangers, they were outsiders. And in a town like this, outsiders didn't go unnoticed. Especially not two confident black women walking in like they had every right to be there. At the bar, the sisters ordered sodas, keeping it light. But as they waited, a group of men in the corner started laughing louder than before. They weren't just any men, they were cops. Off-duty, badges tucked away, but their attitude gave them away instantly. The kind of cops who thought the badge made them untouchable. One officer, tall with a beer in hand, nudged his buddy and tilted his head toward the sisters. His smirk said it all. He pushed himself off his stool, swaggering across the room like he owned it. His friends followed, forming a wall of arrogance and intimidation. "Evenin', ladies," he drawled, his words thick with alcohol. "You're a long way from home, aren't you?" Maya and Alana glanced at each other but stayed calm. They'd faced worse. They'd been trained to face worse. But the crowd didn't know that. To everyone watching, these were just two women caught in the sights of men who could do whatever they wanted. The officer leaned in closer, his voice dropping into a mock whisper. "See, around here, we like to keep things local. Outsiders like you?" He shook his head. "Don't belong." His hand drifted near his belt, fingers brushing against the holster at his side. A warning. A threat. The bar went quiet. Conversations froze. Glasses stopped midair. All eyes were locked on the confrontation. Alana straightened her shoulders, her voice steady. "We're just here for a drink. That's all." But the officer wasn't looking for peace. He was looking for control. He pressed in closer, his buddies circling like sharks. One of them snickered, "Maybe they need to learn some respect." The tension was unbearable. The twins were cornered, the crowd too afraid to step in. Some pulled out their phones, recording, but no one moved to help. The sisters were outnumbered, surrounded, and threatened by men who thought they held all the power. And in that moment, to everyone in the bar, Maya and Alana looked like victims, two young women about to be swallowed whole by corruption and arrogance. What no one knew, what the cops were seconds away from finding out, was that these victims were anything but helpless. The moment stretched in silence, thick as smoke. The officer's smirk widened, like he was enjoying the fear he thought he saw in the sisters' eyes. His buddies stood behind him, laughing low, their presence forming a wall that blocked the twins from any chance of slipping away. Maya kept her voice even, calm but firm. "We said, we're just here for a drink. Nothing else." Her tone should have been enough. But to these men, authority wasn't about reason. It was about dominance. The lead officer leaned even closer, his breath laced with beer. "Oh, I heard you," he sneered. "But see, I don't think you heard me. Around here, what I say, goes." He tapped the holster at his hip like it was punctuation, a silent reminder of the weapon he carried. The crowd shifted uneasily. No one spoke, no one dared interrupt. This wasn't just drunken harassment. This was power being flexed, ugly, raw, and unchecked. Then, with a sudden move, the officer reached out and grabbed Maya's arm. His grip was hard, fingers digging into her skin. "Why don't we step outside and have a little chat?" he said, dragging her toward the door. "Let her go!" Alana snapped, stepping forward. But another cop shoved her back with a rough hand to the shoulder. She stumbled but caught herself, fury flashing in her eyes. The bar erupted into nervous whispers. Phones came up higher now, recording every second. Some patrons looked away, afraid to even watch. Others shook their heads in silent outrage, but no one crossed the invisible line between safety and danger. Outside, the cool night air hit hard. The officer yanked Maya against the hood of a squad car parked out front. Her cheek pressed to cold metal, cuffs biting into her wrists as he snapped them on with deliberate force. "Resisting arrest," he said smugly, loud enough for the crowd gathering at the door to hear. "That's what this is." Alana stormed forward, but two officers grabbed her, slamming her against the same car. She winced as metal dug into her ribs. One cop pressed down on her shoulder, another yanked her arms back. "This is harassment," Alana shouted. Her voice echoed, sharp against the quiet night. The lead officer chuckled. "No, sweetheart. This is the law. My law." The small crowd that had spilled out of the bar murmured nervously. A woman whispered, "They didn't do anything." A man pulled out his phone, muttering, "This ain't right." But still, no one stepped in. Maya twisted her head to look at her sister. Their eyes locked. In that silent exchange, Alana could read it all: don't break. Don't give them what they want. But the cops weren't done humiliating them. One officer shoved Alana's face against the hood, sneering, "You people think you can just walk in anywhere? Think you're special?" Maya clenched her jaw. Every insult, every shove, every ounce of injustice burned inside her. But she kept her breathing steady. Timing was everything. The lead cop pulled out his phone, snapping a picture like it was a trophy. 2 for 1 tonight, he joked to his buddies. They laughed, loud and cruel. The crowd grew larger. Cars slowed on the street, headlights cutting through the scene. More phones were raised. The officers noticed, but arrogance drowned out caution. They believed they owned this moment. Alana's voice cut through the night, steady despite the weight of the cuffs. "Everyone's watching. You think this is going away?" The lead cop smirked, leaning close to her ear. "Doesn't matter. We own this town. Nobody's gonna save you." His words hung heavy, poisonous. To the onlookers, it looked like the end for the Carter twins, 2 young women overpowered, humiliated, crushed under the abuse of men who were supposed to uphold justice. But beneath the surface, the twins weren't breaking. They were waiting. And when they finally chose to act, this entire town was going to see who really held the power. The Carter twins stood cuffed against the squad car, humiliated under the harsh glow of streetlights. The lead officer paced slowly, like a predator savoring his victory. His buddies leaned against the car, smirking, their laughter echoing through the tense night. The crowd was larger now. More people from the bar, curious passers-by, and plenty with phones aimed directly at the scene. Dozens of cameras captured the officers pushing, mocking, and manhandling 2 women who had done nothing wrong. But the cops didn't care. They were untouchable, or at least, they thought they were. Maya kept her breathing steady, her eyes locked on the ground. To anyone watching, she looked defeated. But Alana knew better. Her twin wasn't breaking, she was calculating. Counting seconds, reading every movement, every angle. The lead officer bent down close, his voice a low growl. You two think people are gonna save you because they're recording? Newsflash, when it's our word against yours, we win every time. The other officers laughed, clapping him on the back. Tell him, boss. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. A young man muttered, this is messed up. A woman whispered, why aren't they stopping? But still, no one moved. Fear kept everyone rooted in place. Alana lifted her head slowly, her eyes burning with restrained fury. You're making a mistake, she said firmly. The lead officer sneered. The only mistake here is you walking into my bar. He shoved her shoulder down harder against the hood, as if to prove his point. That's when Maya spoke. Her voice was calm, almost too calm for the situation. Alana, it's time. The crowd stilled. Even Alana turned her head slightly, her brow furrowed. Was her sister serious? Here? Now? The lead officer laughed, misinterpreting her words. Oh yeah, it's time all right. Time you learn what happens when you don't respect authority. But Maya wasn't talking to him. She was talking to her twin. With slow, deliberate movements, Maya shifted her hands. The cuffs clinked loudly, but then, to the shock of the officers standing nearby, she twisted free with practiced precision. She hadn't fought back earlier because she couldn't. She hadn't fought back because she chose not to. Gasps rippled through the crowd. One officer blinked in confusion. What the? How did she? Before anyone could react, Maya reached inside her jacket pocket and pulled something out. The shine under the streetlight caught everyone's eyes. It wasn't a weapon. It was a badge. An FBI badge. The crowd erupted in murmurs, phones zooming in to capture every second. The officers froze, their smirks wiped clean in an instant. Alana smiled now, slow and deliberate, as if the weight of the world had just shifted back into her hands. With a quick move, she slipped free of her own cuffs, because of course she knew how, and reached into her jacket, pulling out her badge too. 2 badges. Side by side. The crowd gasped louder, cheers breaking through the tension. Oh my God, they're FBI, someone shouted. The lead officer's face drained of color. His arrogance cracked like glass. He stumbled back a step, his voice trembling. What is this? Maya straightened, standing tall, her badge glinting under the light. Her voice rang out clear, cutting through the chaos. This is the end of your game. You're under federal investigation. For the first time that night, the cops weren't in control. And everyone watching knew justice was about to flip the script. The street fell silent. Phones hovered higher, catching every second as the Carter twins stood free, their FBI badges glinting under the streetlight. The air, once heavy with arrogance and abuse, was now charged with shock. The lead officer's smirk was gone, replaced with wide-eyed disbelief. He stumbled back a step, stammering, FBI? That's a joke, right? You think flashing some badge changes anything? But Maya's voice was sharp, unwavering. This isn't a joke. You've just assaulted and unlawfully detained 2 federal agents. Every second of your corruption is being streamed live right now. The crowd gasped. Dozens of phones weren't just recording, they were broadcasting. TikTok, Facebook Live, Instagram, thousands of eyes were already watching, and comments were flying in real time. Alana pulled herself upright, brushing dirt off her jacket as if shaking off the weight of humiliation. Her eyes locked on the officer who had shoved her earlier. She raised her badge high. You're done. All of you. Every shove, every word, every lie, it's over. One of the younger cops shifted uncomfortably. He glanced at the crowd, at the sea of phones, at the flashing FBI emblem in front of him. His voice trembled, Boss, they're serious. The lead officer snarled, grabbing his gun as if clinging to his last shred of control. But before he could even raise it, Maya's hand shot up. She wasn't holding a weapon, but her voice carried more force than any firearm. Don't even think about it. That's another federal charge you don't want." The crowd erupted, half shouting in outrage at the cops, half cheering for the sisters. Someone yelled, "Yeah, get him!" Another shouted, "About time." The officer's confidence crumbled. The man who had once laughed at the twins now looked like a cornered animal. This is entrapment," he sputtered. Alana stepped forward, her presence commanding. "No. This is accountability. You've harassed, abused, and terrorized people in this town for years. Tonight, you picked the wrong targets." She pointed toward the crowd. "And the world is finally watching." By now, sirens wailed in the distance, not the local squad cars, but federal vehicles responding to the sisters' silent call for backup. Within minutes, 2 black SUVs rolled onto the street. Doors opened, and more agents stepped out, suited and ready. The bar patrons gasped, stepping back as the scene shifted from small-town intimidation to a full-scale takedown. Maya gave the order, her voice steady. "Arrest them." The federal agents moved swiftly, disarming the officers, stripping them of their weapons, and placing them in cuffs, the very cuffs they had used minutes earlier on the twins. The irony wasn't lost on the crowd. People cheered, some even chanting, "Justice! Justice!" The lead officer resisted, thrashing against the agents. "You can't do this. I run this town." But Alana leaned in close, her voice like ice. "Not anymore." The agents hauled the officers into the SUVs, their faces pale, their bravado shattered. The once feared men were now exposed as criminals in uniform. The crowd surged closer, their cheers turning into applause. Phones flashed, people shouted thanks, and for the first time in years, hope stirred in that town. A man near the front shouted, "Finally!" Someone stood up to them. A woman wiped tears from her eyes, whispering, "Justice at last." Maya and Alana turned to face the people, badges still visible. Maya spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "This isn't just about us. It's about every voice they silenced, every person they intimidated. Tonight was the last time they'll ever get away with it." The crowd erupted into thunderous cheers, the night alive with relief and celebration. The live streams exploded online, spreading the story across the nation. Headlines were already forming, FBI agents expose corrupt small-town cops in shocking arrest caught on camera. For the Carter twins, this wasn't just victory. It was justice, swift, undeniable, and unforgettable. And for the crooked cops, it was the end of their reign of fear. The tables had turned. The flashing lights from the federal SUVs lit up the street like a stage. The corrupt officers, once so smug and untouchable, now sat cuffed in the back seats, their heads bowed in shame. The crowd that had watched in fear only minutes earlier was now buzzing with energy, relieved, vindicated, alive. Maya lowered her badge but kept it visible, her voice carrying over the noise. "Let this be clear, no one is above the law. Not even those who swear to uphold it." Her words rippled through the crowd, and people clapped, cheered, even shouted thank you. A man who had been recording live turned his phone on himself, grinning. "Y'all, this is real. The FBI just arrested half the cops in our town." His live stream comments flooded with hearts, clapping emojis, and shocked reactions. The world was watching, and the truth could no longer be buried. Alana looked at the faces around her, ordinary people who had suffered in silence for too long. She softened her tone. "We know this wasn't just tonight. We know what they've been doing for years. That ends now." A woman in the crowd stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "My brother, they ruined his life. Nobody ever believed us." Alana placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "We believe you. And we're going to make sure every single one of them answers for what they've done." The moment was powerful, not just for the crowd, but for everyone watching online. This wasn't just a takedown. It was a turning point. The kind of moment that sparks change. As the SUVs pulled away with the disgraced officers inside, the town felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted. People hugged, strangers shook hands, and the Carter twins, once seen as victims, were now standing tall as heroes. But Maya and Alana didn't bask in the praise. They exchanged a quiet look, the kind only twins could share. This wasn't victory, it was just the beginning. They both knew corruption ran deeper than one bar, one town, or one group of officers. Tonight had proven how bad it could get, but also how powerful it was when truth came to light. With the crowd still cheering behind them, Maya turned to her sister and whispered, "On to the next." Alana nodded, determination in her eyes. Always. As they walked down the street, their silhouettes fading into the night, the message was clear: justice had arrived, and it wasn't going anywhere. And for anyone else abusing power, the warning was written in stone: never underestimate who you're messing with. And just like that, the tables turned. What started as a night of harassment ended with corrupt cops in cuffs, exposed for the world to see. Maya and Alana Carter walked into that bar as targets, but walked out as heroes. It's a reminder that justice doesn't always wear a uniform, sometimes it wears courage, and sometimes it comes in pairs. So tell me, what would you have done if you were standing in that crowd, watching everything unfold? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, subscribe for more stories where the underdog doesn't just fight back, they win.